I beg your pardon. Did you happen to see a dragon pass by?
Dragons. No other mythical creature is as universally recognised. From childhood tales like Puff the Magic Dragon, the Clangers, and loads of movies to video games like Dragon's Lair, and medieval legends of knights battling fire-breathing beasts. Dragons are everywhere. They loom large in our folklore, our history, our art, and even our national symbols. Just ask the Welsh. And the Lionheart himself, King Richard, his sword at the Royal Armouries, has a dragon on the pommel. Not a lion as you would expect. Not a cross, a dragon. Why? Why do cultures across the world, separated by vast oceans and entire ages of history, all have consistent dragon legends? Is it pure coincidence, or is there something more? I started thinking about this while researching William Marshall for the last video I uploaded, one of England's greatest knights. A man tasked with the training of young King Henry in the ways of chivalry and battle. Something about their relationship reminded me of Dragonheart, the film, where a wise, battle-worn knight mentors a young, wayward ruler. But that got me thinking, why have dragons always been entwined with knighthood? What if, instead of fantasy, these legends have roots in something real? Of course, some people are going to scoff at the idea, as if a giant winged, fire-breathing reptile.
You're insane.
Surely just a story. But before dismissing dragons outright, let's take a look at the historical evidence, the engravings, the written records, the accounts from cultures that had no contact with each other. Evidence that suggests something more than mere imagination. And we'll give Bruegel the Elder's painting from 1562 about Saul a hard pass, as it's probably just a misrepresentation of camels. But yeah, they do resemble long-necked dinosaurs. Dragons are not just a European fascination either. They appear everywhere. Asia, Africa, Australia, and the Americas. Chinese dragons are well known throughout the world thanks to their woodblock prints and tattooists worldwide. They also appear on China's 12-year calendar cycle. 11 of these animals are common today: dog, rat, monkey, rabbit, and so on. So why assume that the 12th, a dragon, was mythological? The Travels of Marco Polo in 1292 describes some of these long-necked, lanky serpents, which included short legs and claws. He claimed the Chinese would use special methods to dispatch these dragons. The body parts were used for some crazy medicinal purposes, and then ate the rest as a delicacy. No surprise there. Whether this video is real is debatable. Looks cool though. In North Queensland, the Kuku-Yalanji people have ancient paintings of lake monsters eerily resembling a plesiosaur called Yaru. The Ishtar Gate, built by Nebuchadnezzar II, features the Mashusu, a scaly reptilian beast standing on two legs with eagle talons, a lion's forelimbs and a scorpion-like tail. Herodotus, an ancient Greek writer, records in the histories.
There's a place in Arabia, modern Egypt, situated very near the city of Buto, to which I went on hearing of some winged serpents. and when I arrived there I saw bones and spines of serpents in such quantities as it would be impossible to describe. The form of the serpent is like that of the water snake, but he has wings without feathers and as like as possible to the wings of a bat.
Bishop Bell, buried in Carlisle Cathedral in 1496, has brass engravings on his tomb that appear to depict long-necked dinosaur-like creatures. The epic Beowulf tells of a fire-breathing winged monster hoarding treasure, an early dragon legend that inspired Tolkien to create Smaug in The Hobbit. In South America, 1,000 years ago, the Moche culture crafted pottery featuring dragon-like creatures. Native cultures are said to depict only what they saw in real life. Utah. Several petroglyphs carved in stone resemble air or land dragons. A pictograph in San Rafael Swell shows something similar to a pteranodon or pterodactyl. One in Natural Bridges National Monument looks rather similar to a sauropod. In the 1890s, there was even a sighting in Tombstone. Appeared in the newspaper and everything, but the photograph taken at the time has disappeared. This one's pretty good though, what do you reckon? How did these civilizations with no contact with one another all describe creatures so similar? Could dragons be a distorted memory of real encounters passed down over generations? Dragons don't just exist in myths, they appear in historical records. The Roman historian Cassius Dio recounted how a Roman army once killed a dragon. The original fragment from Book 11 of his Roman history, now lost, was repeated by John of Damascus in his book on dragons and ghosts. In his words,
"One day when Regulus, a Roman consul, was fighting against Carthage, a dragon suddenly crept up and settled behind the wall of the Roman army. The Romans killed it by order of Regulus, skinned it, and sent the hide to the Roman Senate. When the dragon's hide, as Dio says, was measured by order of the Senate, it happened to be, amazingly, 120 feet long, and the thickness was fitting to the length."
There are even dragon mosaics on the Vatican floor. And we've already mentioned Marco Polo. If these were all just myths, why did so many serious historical figures write about them? Now we can't get around it, so we have to discuss it. Let's address the fire-breathing issue. A giant lizard spewing flames seems ridiculous until you consider nature's existing oddities. Nature has found some truly bizarre defense mechanisms and solutions, and we do have a real-life flying reptile. Say hello to Draco lizard. Glides through the treetops like a tiny, leaf-loving dragon. It doesn't spit fire though. And if that's not enough, paleontologists even dug up a dinosaur skull so spiky and fearsome, they named it Dracorex hogwartsia. Yeah, in honour of Harry Potter. Proving that sometimes science and mythology aren't so far apart after all. Some deep-sea creatures use chemical reactions to glow. Could dragon legends stem from animals with luminous throat sacs? I'm just spitballing there. But here's where it starts to get weird. The Texas horned lizard, or the horny toad. When it's under threat, it builds up pressure in its head, then, believe it or not, shoots blood from its eyes as a defense mechanism. If lizards today have such bizarre abilities, like gliding and jets of blood, what might extinct reptiles have been capable of?
Well, it makes you think. They're getting their understanding of what existed and didn't exist based on what was fossilized. And it's so, especially when you come to dinosaurs, they're always finding a new dinosaur.
Then consider this mad scientist vision. The bombardier beetle. It mixes chemicals in its abdomen to spray boiling liquid at predators. Here's a lovely image of it melting some ants. Could a large reptile have had a similar mechanism, coming from its mouth though, rather than its arse? Now let's talk about their shape. Classic Western dragons are often depicted with 4 legs and 2 wings, but paleontology has shown us that pterosaurs walked on their winged forelimbs, basically walking on their elbows, giving them an appearance of having 4 legs when on the ground. Could artistic interpretation have morphed them into the 6-limbed dragons we recognise today? If you think nature wouldn't dream up something as outlandish as a fire-breathing dragon, just remember the Cambrian Explosion, a time when evolution seemed to throw everything at the wall to see what stuck, from spiny nightmare worms to armoured sea tanks with eyes on stalks. Also, recent discoveries confirm that many dinosaurs had feathers. If ancient people discovered fossilised remains of large feathered reptiles, might they have assumed these creatures were still alive in their own time? So where does this leave us? We'll probably never know for sure if dragons once roamed the earth alongside humans. There is some unsubstantiated evidence that dinosaurs did, but one thing is clear. The idea of dragons has been with us for thousands of years, far longer than any single civilization. Whether they were based on real creatures, ancient fossils, or deeply embedded cultural fears of serpentine monsters, the fact remains they refuse to be forgotten. The Church has long cast dragons as symbols of sin and heresy, fearsome beasts to be vanquished, perhaps to reinforce its moral authority. Yet older tales speak of dragons as wise and noble guardians of knowledge rather than mere monsters of chaos. Perhaps that's the true magic of dragons. Even if they never existed as we imagine them, they still haunt our collective memory, appearing in everything from medieval tapestries to modern films, reminding us that some myths are simply just too powerful to die. As for my own journey, it started with William Marshall, an English knight and mentor to a king. But just like in Dragonheart, knights and dragons are forever entwined, whether in battle, legend or the imagination. And maybe, just maybe, in history too.
Was that an earthquake?
That, my lad, was a dragon.
If you've enjoyed the content, please like, subscribe, and share the heckins out of this video. Maybe check out my other videos too. Above all, thanks for watching.